Well, we'll get started. I was sorry about that. I was talking into my own phone here. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's been a while since we got together like this, so I wanted to welcome you all for being here today. We're going to be covering, as you know, the Zoho One announcement. Some of you have seen a lot of this content as we did present it to you during our recent Zoholics in Europe and in Pleasanton. There are some updates to that material, so we'll be covering some new information as well. The first part of today's presentation is going to look at what is Zoho One, why did Zoho put together a bundle that incorporates, as you'll see, all of our products. And most importantly, a little bit about positioning. So we want you to be able to understand how Zoho is viewing this groundbreaking announcement. So you'll be able to present it accurately to your customer base. And you know, this is taking an exponential leap into the market. This is the next level for Zoho and for our partners. So we feel this is a very important announcement, and we're very glad you're able to participate with us today. So the presentation will go into what's the opportunity for you, our partners. So why should you care about Zoho One? How is it going to impact your own business practice? What is the potential for you to grow and expand your consulting practice as a Zoho partner? Those are the four main sections for today, and presenting will be Raju Vagesna, our Chief Evangelist, and Vijay Sundaram, our Chief Strategy Officer. And most of you probably know it's me talking. It's Ian Bruce, and I will also just go through a couple of housekeeping items. So the webinar is being recorded, and if you have any questions, all of you are muted right now, but if you have any questions, have any issues, you can just send a message through chat. And also we'll be able to read some of your questions if you want to share them with the group. We'll be able to read the questions and the answers throughout today's presentation. So without further ado, let me pass it over to Raju, and we'll get started.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks for the intro. It's finally good to be here talking about Zoho One. For some of the partners who were at our Chennai event, I think in 2014, you remember me talking about Zoho One back then. And he said, expect something, very soon from us. Well, here we are 3 years later, but very soon is here. So Zoho One is finally ready, and we are excited to be announcing soon. So I want to go through some slides here, talking about what is Zoho One, what we're trying to do, the bigger picture, how to position it, and various other things. So without any delay, let's get started here. So in this session, I want to address the basics. What is Zoho One? Who is it for? How is it priced? When is it going to be available? And some information on what we have learned so far about Zoho One based on the beta customers. And at a high level, why exactly are we doing this? And then Vijay will go over the partner opportunity as well. So let's get started. And please note that this material is confidential, so do not talk about it publicly till the end of the month. So please no tweets, and please do not share this information yet publicly. So what is Zoho One? Simple, all of Zoho in one bundle. So you take all Zoho's application and put it in one bundle. That's essentially Zoho One. So that means we're talking about 35 plus applications, 37 to be precise. And I'm also talking about web applications as well as the native applications. And we have the broadest category of applications touching sales, marketing, customer support, accounting, ERP, and on and on. So there are not many vendors out there, or if any, out there that have the broadest portfolio of applications. And then if you add our mobile applications, that's about 40 plus mobile applications across platforms. I mean, we have 40 plus mobile applications per platform, and we are including all of those as part of this bundle. On top of it, we are also including all the extras. I'm talking about the browser extensions that we have for Chrome, Safari, Firefox. We're talking about Apple TV applications, applications for Apple Watch, iMessage apps. So all the extras that we do on top of web and native applications and mobile applications, we are including it as part of the Zoho One bundle. And here's the key thing. We are not just including the applications, we are including the enterprise editions of every single application out there. So it's not, a basic version or whatever. So we are just including the topmost level of every product out there, the enterprise editions of every product out there into this bundle. And on top of it, it is not just bundling these, we are also coming up with an admin console. So we have a Zoho One admin console to centrally manage and administer various things, including users, applications, security permissions, and others. So we have built this admin console on top of bundling these applications. I'm going to talk about some of those briefly. I'll show some screenshots of what you can do in the admin console. But Zoho One comes with this centralized admin console for administrators. And also, I'm saying we plan to expand the suite, which means Zoho One not just includes the applications that we currently have, it might include the applications that we plan to release moving forward. As some of you may know, and we posted this in Partner Connect, we plan to release Zoho Sign, an electronic signature application that complements various other Zoho applications. Well, that is going to be launched very soon, and that is going to be included as part of the Zoho One suite. We plan to launch another maybe 4 or 5 applications in the next 6 months, and we can safely say that a good chunk of those will make their way into the Zoho One suite too. And it is not just the web applications. We will also include the various mobile applications that we launch into the suite as well. So where does this Zoho One suite fit among other Zoho bundles? If you look at our application portfolio, users can license applications individually. So they can go pick an app. If that is all they need, they can directly purchase it and start using it. That's pretty straightforward. Then we recently started introducing bundles. We're talking about CRM Plus, which is a customer-focused bundle, the Workplace Suite, which is a combination of our collaboration, productivity, and content applications. And we also recently launched our Finance Plus Suite, which includes our finance and other applications out there. All these 3 suites are growing really fast, and users can license these applications or these bundles. So that is the second option on top of licensing the individual applications. And then there is the new option, which is the master bundle. So Zoho One is that master bundle. So we are not removing any options. We are actually adding additional licensing options and making it easy for the customer with 3 options. So now users can license individual applications. They can license the individual bundles. And of course, if they want everything, then now we have Zoho One. So those are the 3 options the customers have. And I think that gives significant flexibility. Who is it for? I would say all businesses. And initially, certainly we see certain businesses who would jump on it, but eventually we certainly see it addressing every single business out there. Like if you look at how we certainly foresee usage, initially it is going to be small businesses that will jump in and dive into the Zoho One's bundle because it's incremental, it's incredible value there. And mid-sized businesses, we see them licensing, the individual bundles, the CRM Plus and Finance Plus. And large companies, we see them licensing these individual applications because there the decisions is made at the individual department level. The person making a decision at these for sales is different from the person making a decision for customer support. So they may or may not purchase CRM Plus, which includes sales and customer support. So in large organizations, we certainly see these individual applications being licensed, while mid-sized businesses might take advantage of these bundles. But we see this evolving. Even some of the early data, as it comes in, we are noticing that some of the mid-sized businesses are also showing interest in Zoho One. And we have seen several inquiries on that already, and I think it's certainly a positive sign for Zoho One. Now, what is the core value of Zoho One? It's not just a bunch of applications put together and offered as a bundle. The value here is it's one suite to run an entire business. This has never been possible in the history because there was never a suite of applications as broad as we have today that offers the same set of functionality that we offer today, and that is the reason it wasn't available. So for the first time, we are saying, hey, here is a suite that you can run an entire business on Zoho. So we call this the operating system for business. What we mean by that is the underlying framework over which you can pretty much run your entire business. And Zoho One is that operating system for business. Zoho One is that bundle of applications and integrated suite of applications where you can pretty much run various functions within your organization on this suite. And the key here is it's not a bunch of applications that are put together. These are applications that are tightly integrated with each other. Again, contextually integrated, not just integrated, which by contextually integrated, what I mean is information shows up in the right places when you need it, where you need it. And that's basically the tight integrations between these applications. You've seen that with the CRM Plus suite. You've seen that with the Workplace and the Finance suite. And all of those flow into the Zoho One suite. Now, the alternative obviously is messy, which means you have to bring in various applications and integrate those applications together. To integrate two applications, you bring in another vendor, and then it becomes a real mess. And this is well known as the integration spaghetti, which can be avoided with Zoho One, where you have a tightly knit together suite that seamlessly talks to each other. Again, not saying we have every single piece integrated, but we have most integrations than any vendor in the industry. So we have integrated various pieces of applications, both on the front office as well as the back office, and information seamlessly flows between those. And whenever we launch a new application, we expect those integrations be in place before even we launch it. Another key advantage of Zoho One is obviously single account gets you access to the entire suite. So, which isn't the case today with majority of the solutions of users implementation today, where they have to license multiple applications and they have to remember multiple credential sets for each and every vendor. And then if you want single sign-on, they bring in another vendor. And so with Zoho One, a single secure account will get you access to multiple applications. And of course, customers don't have to deal with multiple vendors, multiple account reps, the negotiation cycles, and all of those. And then we are talking about multiple contract cycles. We're talking about multiple support org. If you have a problem with CRM, well, you talk to one vendor. If you have a problem with accounting, you talk to another vendor. If you have a problem with CRM and accounting and the integration between the two, who do you talk to? Well, you are bounced back between those two vendors, and the challenges arise when you're dealing with multiple support organizations across vendors. And imagine doing this across 20 or 30 applications. It's a mess. And as I said, we're talking about multiple contracts, multiple SLAs. You don't have to deal with any of those. And of course, multiple invoices. And how often do we forget paying a certain bill and noticing that you no longer have subscription for that, or you've been downgraded? So with Zoho One, you get single invoice for entire suite, for the entire org, for all the application set, and that's one of the key values. And a typical thing that people are used to in the software market is nickel and diming. You license an application, and then you realize that you don't have certain functionality, and you have to pay extra price for that. So we are trying to avoid all of that. We have included pretty much everything in this particular bundle, and saying, hey, we have included the enterprise edition of it. We are trying to avoid all these add-ons as part of our pricing. So you know what you're getting into, you know what you're going to pay. So it's no add-ons, no nickel and dime pricing for Zoho One. So that's again another good differentiation. So what we are talking about here is business software evolving as a utility, which means the customer knows exactly what they're paying and pay based on their usage. And in this case, pay based on their employees. And software is getting to that level, and Zoho One certainly is getting to that level where we're making business software as a utility for businesses. And for the customers out there, various businesses out there, they get to focus on their business, not their IT, and not how to run their business, not which applications to manage, and all of that. When just like they don't worry about their power, electricity, they don't worry about other utilities. Just like that, they don't have to worry about software for their business, and they get to focus on their business. So they just pay for all the software they need, and then move forward. Now, what they're licensing here is not just a bunch of applications. They're essentially licensing peace of mind. And that's an important point, where you pay once for your entire suite, and then you just forget about it. You get everything you need to grow your business, and you can focus on your growth rather than worry about what that growth will cost you. So you just keep focusing on the business. So which means from a business owner's point of view, they are essentially licensing peace of mind. So what's the price? We're trying to be extremely aggressive on the pricing, and this is something that the industry has never seen. So we are very aggressive on the pricing. It's going to be $1 per employee per day. So which means for 30 days we're talking about $30 per employee per day. Sorry, per month. So we mandate that a company license Zoho One for all the employees. That's an important criteria that we put. So which means if you have 100 employees, it's 100 times 30 per month is what you pay. You get everything from Zoho, current and possibly future applications, and you can pretty much run your business on Zoho. And this is extremely aggressive pricing, and you haven't seen anything close to it in the industry. And for some of you, we previously talked about 2 editions, and for some of the partners who have attended some of our sessions, we talked about 2 editions. One is the standard edition, and then there is the enterprise edition. We are no longer moving forward with the standard edition. So there is only for one bundle, one price for the entire Zoho One suite. That is plain $30 per employee per month. The price does vary per country, and I'll talk about it in a minute. But as I mentioned, what this gets you is suite of all applications, mobile, native, and all these extras, enterprise editions of every single Zoho app. All of them are pre-integrated, and you get a single invoice across the organization. Now, we are coming up with localized pricing for some of the countries. In US, it's $30 US, UK, again, the same, Europe, same. We're going with the local currency in each of these regions. In India, we are going a little more aggressive. It's 1,000 rupees per month. That converts to about $15 a month. So we are getting a little more aggressive in India given the opportunity and the price sensitive market. And on top of it, we might introduce additional options, at least the localized pricing for some of the other countries. And we're thinking maybe LATAM to start with. So we don't have any pricing announced or available yet, but that's an area where that will be the next region we'll be coming up with some localized pricing in LATAM, Mexico, and then beyond. So I know some of you might be thinking we are leaving money on the table, and again, it depends on how you look at it. I want to explain the pricing a little bit here. If you look at the CRM Plus, you're saying, hey, you guys are charging $50 for CRM Plus, and with Zoho One, you're offering a 40% discount. What's going on? The important point to note here with Zoho One is Zoho One has to be licensed to every employee in the organization, and that's a big differentiation. So if you take CRM Plus, it's going to be adopted by, let's say, 30% of the organization, right? So what we are offering essentially is a 40% discount to the 30% of the organization. But if you look at the remaining 70% of the org, then we are talking about an increase there, and an increase for the remaining 70% who may not be paying as much for the applications that they use. Let's say if they're using something like Google Apps, they're probably paying $5 a month, and maybe add in accounting, add in various other applications. We are really talking about, a subset of the $30 price. And so there is a decent increase in what they pay for the rest of the organization, while there is a good discount for the sales and marketing folks compared to CRM Plus. But if you run the numbers, it'll pretty much even out. So you'll notice that it's not a significant discount, but there is a neat thing where the simplification of the pricing with a flat fee per employee across the organization for an integrated suite, and one suite to run an entire business. And now you can say that, hey, you get single invoice for all the software you need for your entire business. And that simplicity is what the people really admire and they really like about Zoho One. And we are seeing that from some of our early customers. So one way to pitch Zoho One is, if you take, say, US, for example, and let's say an average monthly salary of an employee is around $5,000. Now you're saying for $30 will buy all the tools that employee needs to do his day-to-day business. And if you look at and compare that with the salary that you pay, it's extremely, extremely reasonable. And it becomes a no-brainer at one point. That's one way to look at this. And notice that if you look at the market here, the G Suite, the Google Apps Suite, introduced Enterprise Edition recently, and you have to call them to get pricing, but the pricing is actually $30 per user per month. So Google Apps, for all the email, document management, and Office Suite, they're charging $30 per user per month. Zoho One Suite, which is much broader than that, includes whatever Google includes in their G Suite and 30 plus business applications on top of it. And that's significant value. And again, Google requires that obviously you license it to every employee within the organization, because we are talking about email, and email is something that you license it to every employee. And we are talking about similar price, but look at the value that you get with Zoho One. Now, there are going to be some people that say, hey, I don't use every single application in the suite, so I don't want to pay for it. And absolutely, we have seen some of these from some of the existing customers out there. The way you look at it is, when you go to a buffet, you're not going to eat every single dish. Do you go and argue that I did not eat certain pieces and you want a discount on the buffet? So the point here is, we price the product and the bundle low enough that it makes sense to just use certain parts of it and you still get incredible value out of it. And for the simplicity of not having to pick what you want, and your simplicity of single vendor offering all the solutions, all the applications you need, the simplicity of single invoice and billing, you're paying for that. So there are going to be applications that you may or may not use, but then there could be other employees in your organizations who may be using other applications that you may not use. So you kind of look at it that way. Another example is, we pay for our cable subscription. Obviously, we don't watch every single channel. So you're just paying a flat fee, because the alternative is really painful. So what's the alternative? You go to every single channel. Imagine licensing every single channel, because the channels that you watch could be different from the channels your, say, spouse watches, could be different from the channels your kids watch. Now imagine licensing every single channel separately and trying to put them together in a single interface, and maybe even you may need a separate device to pull in each channel and try to integrate all of those. And then imagine worrying about the payment, the monthly recurring payments to each of these channels. Managing all of that is obviously painful. Currently, the price is low enough or decent enough that you don't mind paying for the entire bundle, even though you don't use or watch every single channel. So think of Zoho One like the same model, where you may not use every single product, but the price is low enough that you will just license the entire bundle and forget about it. And that's where we see Zoho One going, and that's how we see it being licensed. So when are we launching it? The week of July 24th. So a couple of weeks from now. And we are launching in several countries. We are doing a media push in various countries. These are the countries where we are going to have people physically visit, talk to media, and talk to journalists, and try to drum up some interest in Zoho One. So this is the launch where we are doing the broadest pitch. And if you are from any of these regions, we suggest that you reach out to us, and maybe there could be some more opportunity. If you have any customers, either Zoho One customers, or if you have any CRM Plus customers who you think will be willing to talk to media or journalists, please let us know. We would love to include them during our press meets or press tours. but we are planning to do an extended PR outreach for this announcement. In some regions in Europe, given that it's holiday season, we plan to do another round in September. But I think we are doing an extended outreach because we are very, very optimistic on Zoho One. So what do we know so far? We have been talking about Zoho One privately with various people, various customers at Zoholics events, and we have people showing interest. So we gave early access to these customers, and we have learned quite a bit, and the team has tweaked the product significantly. So far, we have around 300 paying customers for Zoho One. And I thought I'll share a couple of numbers based on what we have seen so far. Again, don't expect us to share these numbers continuously moving forward, but given that we have some data before the launch, I wanted to share some of these. From these 300 paying customers, what's interesting is the evaluation to paying conversion percentage. About 50% of these customers, of the customers who tried Zoho One, purchased it. So, which means roughly around 600 companies tried Zoho One, and half of them, which is around 300 of them, just ended up purchasing it. And obviously, if you're from the industry and you know that this is a significant high percentage. Again, given that this is existing customers and who already are qualified, the data may be a little skewed, but nonetheless, I think this is a good, healthy conversion percentage we have seen. And what's interesting is these customers, 50% of them converted to Zoho One, but then there is a certain percentage of customers on top of it who did not go with Zoho One, but instead decided to go with either other bundles or they choose to license individual applications. So the actual conversion percentage from being a non-customer to customer is even higher than 50%, just that to Zoho One, the conversion is about 50%. And if you include other Zoho application purchases, the conversion is even higher. Now, if you look at out of these 300 customers, 50% of them are existing customers. We're talking about upgrades either from CRM Plus or upgrades from individual products. And if you look at the CRM Plus migrations, we're talking about 15% of these 300 customers migrated from CRM Plus, and which means majority of the other customers have directly migrated from individual products to Zoho One. And here's an interesting thing. 20% of these customers are individuals. We kind of saw this coming, but we did not see such a high percentage, because for individuals, if you're an individual consultant, this is the deal of the century. Right? If you're paying $30 and you get 35 plus apps, and you're just an individual consultant, you're business of one employee, and this is the deal of the century for them. And we are seeing a lot of users who have been our free users, but they're converting to the paid edition, and in this case, they're just going with Zoho One. And we have looked at their trend, and we noticed that a good chunk of them use 10 plus applications, and in most cases, free apps. They may be paying for one or two Zoho applications, but 10 other free applications, but now they're just going with Zoho One. And we see this as a very positive sign, where we have a good percentage of free users, and that is the freemium model that we base our business on. And if a good chunk of those free users convert into paid, that's a very healthy sign. And if you look at the average number of users per org, it's around 10. And we are slowly noticing that this number is inching up, but for now, the average number of employees or the employees per organization is around 10. And our largest customer on Zoho One has about 300 employees. Certainly, we are talking to several other customers with several hundred employees, in some cases several thousands, but certainly the early signs are very positive. We certainly expected to see, as I mentioned earlier, to see many small businesses use Zoho One, but increasingly we are seeing even mid-sized businesses migrating or even at least looking at Zoho One. It's still very early, but we are excited about the direction and the way things are going. So taking a diversion, a quick look at the Zoho One admin console. In the next webinar, I believe scheduled next week, we'll go into much more detail on the admin console, the detailed demo on it. But I just want to share show some screenshots here. As soon as you log into Zoho One, you see a set of applications that you use. On the top right, you'll see settings which will take you to the Zoho One admin console. And once you go to the admin console, you have the ability to just configure your organization info, your address, your company name, and all the details. You can manage applications, manage users, and define administrators, define groups, and security policies and others from the admin console. If you go to the application section, you can add the applications that you want to enable. The fact that you have 35 applications doesn't mean that customers should enable all 35 applications at once. Obviously, it's going to be a slow incremental increase. So they can enable applications that they need immediately, have them implemented, and then move on to the next step. So once you have these applications added, you can define which users should have access to those applications. So the users obviously will be different for each of these applications, and all of these can be done from the centralized console. We have the concept of service admin. Given that we have 35 plus apps, the administrator for your CRM is going to be different from the administrator for your accounting. It's going to be different from the administrator for, let's say, your marketing or customer support. So in that case, you can define what we call as service admins. Service admins will be the administrator for that particular application for that service. And that person will be able to add users and manage various aspects of that particular application. So that service admins is something that we have introduced with Zoho One. And then when you go to the individual users, apart from managing these individual users, you can select any particular user and configure certain settings. It could be application level settings. It could be the groups that the users belong to. It could be noticing or seeing the various account activity for that particular user. It could be configuring the mail settings for that user and enabling, disabling access like POP or IMAP or ActiveSync, or enabling two-factor authentication or mandating two-factor authentication for certain users. Or it could be centrally resetting a password, or if the employee leaves the company, making him inactive. All of these can be done from the user section of the Zoho One admin console. Then at the centralized security level, you can set up password policies, two-factor authentications can be mandated, and various others. So we'll go into these details in our next webinar next week. But I want to provide some additional information about Zoho One. The first one is what's really under the hood. Under the hood, we built something called Zoho Directory. This is one of the reasons it took a while for us to get to get to this particular stage. Zoho Directory, think of Zoho Directory as a better version of Active Directory. And it's extremely important that there is a centralized directory structure for an organization, and it doesn't make sense for every application to manage their own structure. And now Zoho One comes with Zoho Directory, and this the impact of this is certainly profound. So once you create, let's say, a group in Zoho One, every single Zoho application will take that group information and apply to itself. So a lot of organization structure information that is defined in Zoho One, all of that will be respected by individual applications. And this is extremely important. So which means we would be adding in the future some interesting things where you come to Zoho One, create a group. That means we could automatically create a group in CRM, we could create a group in Zoho Connect, we can create a project for that particular group, we can create a chat channel with that group, and we can create a workspace in Zoho Docs, and on and on. And that is because every single Zoho application respects the Zoho Directory, which manages the centralized group structure. It is also important for future compatibility because let's say a mid-sized organization comes to us and say, hey, I'm using Active Directory and how do I integrate with Zoho applications? The neat thing with Zoho Directory is you don't have to go and integrate Active Directory with every single Zoho application. You just integrate Active Directory with Zoho Directory. And because every other Zoho application directly integrates with Zoho Directory, that will bridge the gap between Active Directory and individual Zoho applications. And this is the real power behind Zoho One, and it took us a significant amount of time to get it right. But what you will see is every single Zoho application respecting the structure of Zoho Directory, and Zoho Directory itself is going to power Zoho One and a lot of other applications moving forward. So this is a significant component that I want you to just inform. So we are not going to be talking about Zoho Directory much publicly, but this is what is under the hood powering Zoho One. Another important thing that we are working on, we hope to be ready by launch, but we are not sure if we will. But in any case, this is something that will be coming out fairly soon. Is the creator applications will be treated slightly differently in the context of Zoho One. What do I mean by that? If you go to the applications section of Zoho One Admin Console, you will be able to manage all the 35 plus applications you have for the organization. But then what happens if you don't have the application that you may need? In that case, you can obviously use Zoho Creator to create an application. But how do you deploy that application? Well, Zoho One Admin Console will soon provide an option to select your custom application from Zoho Creator and deploy that as any other application that we have in the Zoho One suite. Which means if you have, let's say, in expense management or some kind of a travel tracking application or any of your custom application that you may have built for your organization, it can be or it will be treated as any other Zoho application, which means it will follow the same org model of Zoho One, and you'll be able to deploy service admin and deploy which users will have access to that particular application right within the Zoho One Admin Console. So creator applications will certainly get special treatment, so which means our story to the customers will be even more impactful, where we go to them and say, hey, we have all the applications you need to run your business, but if there is any custom process for your business, Zoho Creator can help you, and I can help you build that application, and it will be treated as yet another application in Zoho One Admin Console, and you can deploy that app throughout your organization. So that's something that we are working on. We are hoping that it will be available for the release. If not, it will probably be rolling out very soon after the release. But I just want to give you a heads up on this. So we talked about what's included. What's equally important is what's not included. As I mentioned earlier, we include enterprise edition of every single product. Some of these products like Zoho Creator, they do come with express plans, and between enterprise and express plans, we decided to go with the enterprise editions. So express plans are not included in Zoho One. Similarly, unlimited editions, which might require custom deployments, are also not included. Domain registration is not included. And then, of course, apps from Manage Engine is not included. Like we are talking about MDM, Service Desk Plus, Site 24/7, and few others that we have on Zoho.com. They are not included in Zoho One Suite. We are planning to introduce something called Zoho One Concierge, because when customers come to us, they're saying, okay, I want to see if Zoho One is the right thing for my business. And it's not really a sales project. We need a team that can understand what customers is looking for, understand their business, and then try to guide them and tell them if Zoho One is the right solution for them. And we need a team that can help them through. So in other words, we need a team that is more like a business consultant to guide the customers through the process and tell them and guide them on how to implement some of this technology in there. So we'll be setting up a team very soon called the Concierge team, specifically for Zoho One, that will be doing it. And probably once we get the team going, you'll be able to take advantage of this team, where they will be working in conjunction with the sales team, in conjunction with the partners, and on guiding the customer. And if we don't have a solution, this team will say, okay, this is not the right product. So it's not really a sales team. It's a team that it's more like a business consultant team that helps the customer. We'll provide more details on this soon as the idea evolves. Then stepping back a little at a high level and asking the basic question, why are we doing this? Right? If you zoom out a little bit, first, we're going for the kill. We think this is going to disrupt the industry, and so obviously disruption is a key reason. And this is also the industry is headed, just that we are ahead. And if you look at the heartbeat cycle of the tech industry, it first explodes with a bunch of individual products, and then it consolidates and the suites form, and then after a few years you see another explosion of new products, and then the consolidation happens. And that's the heartbeat cycle of the technology industry. And we are in that consolidation phase at this point. You've seen a ton of companies come up. I mean, if you look at the marketing industry, marketing category, there are about 4,000 companies in that market. And now there is consolidation happening. Same thing happened in the sales side. Same thing happened in some of the other markets. Now the consolidation is coming, and we are ahead. So we are putting together that suite, and so are other vendors out there. If you look at the evolution of, say, Salesforce or even Microsoft, you certainly see that Salesforce is trying to acquiring several companies in terms of what they do. Like they acquired companies on the marketing side, they acquired companies on the support side. Now they have a good suite on sales, marketing, and support. Obviously, they also acquired on the collaboration side, and now I'm sure they'll get into the accounting and all of that. So that consolidation is happening on that front. And of course, there is Microsoft, which tries to build various suites out there, and is trying to build this consolidation game itself. In fact, you may have seen just yesterday, Microsoft launched Microsoft 365, again, a suite that includes Windows plus Office, and they also introduced invoicing and email campaign system for $20 a month per user. So certainly competition is coming. But I think we certainly can beat the competition with Salesforce. I guess with $1 a day, that certainly keeps Salesforce away. And there's no way that Salesforce can match this pricing, especially if you include the entire suite. And then you have Microsoft, and Microsoft has played this game earlier with Microsoft Office. Back then, in the early stages of Office, or when Microsoft Office didn't exist, there was a good word processor out there that was competing with Microsoft. Similarly, there was a good uh, spreadsheet application and a presentation application. Microsoft smartly integrated everything and came up with an Office suite. The bundle changed everything, and that bundle made what Microsoft is today. And so certainly Microsoft is going to play that game, so expect some competition between Office 365, Dynamics 365, Microsoft 365. Between all of these, you're going to see some good competition. But again, we have a significant advantage because we have much broader suite than any of these vendors and much better pricing. While Microsoft may be pricing their Office suite for $20 a month, their Dynamics 365 is $210 a month. That is the one that comes closest to Zoho One. So we're talking about $30 a month per employee versus $210 per employee, and it doesn't have everything. But certainly competition is coming, and we have to look at that. And before we even see this, we are setting the bar, saying if you were to offer a business application suite to run an entire business, these are the applications that you got to have. So we are setting the bar. We are not just setting the bar on the application suite, we are also setting up the bar on the pricing as well. At $30 a month, well, you either match the price or we'll eat you. Kind of that's the aggressive pricing that we are going with. So each of these bundles are not just incrementally better, they are exponentially better. If you look at our CRM application, it's certainly incrementally better than competition, but if you look at something like CRM Plus, the value that you get with that suite is exponentially better, and that's the reason you will notice that the suites are growing much faster than these individual applications. And Zoho One is that suite where it's exponentially better than competition, and we expect similar adoption there. So once you experience the entire suite, and we know this because we have been running Zoho on Zoho for a long time now, and once you experience the power of these integrated suite, there's no going back. And what that also means is once you get users adopt Zoho One, that increases the stickiness of the product, the bundle, and you're going to have customers for a long time. So once you get them into Zoho One, you're going to have them for a long time. And of course, that also means the average revenue per user goes up for Zoho One. And of course, as a company, we are built for this because it's a combination of breadth of applications and the right pricing. So that is something that no other vendor comes close. And as I often say, we are really built at that intersection of technology and economics. The breadth and depth of technology and our technology investment, and combined with sound economics that we built our business on, there is no better showcase of this than Zoho One. The breadth and depth of applications that we offer at a ridiculous price, at $30 a month, no other vendor can come close because you really have to be built from scratch at this intersection to deliver value like Zoho One, and that's essentially what we are doing with this. With that, let me hand it over to Vijay.
Yeah. So just just a time check here. So we've got about 30 minutes, and it would be great. I believe we'll have enough time for all the questions that have been raised. So Vijay, once you complete your section, I think we should spend some time going over the questions. I can read them out, and we can answer them between the three of us. I think that would be an important step in this presentation as well.
Okay, this is Vijay. Welcome, everyone. We've spent basically this presentation was broken up into two sections, the introduction of the product, and I'm going to take only about 10 or 15 minutes. And what I want to do is I want to outline Zoho One in the context of partners, why it makes sense for partners and why we think it will actually be a better deal for our partner ecosystem than anything we have put together to date. So that's what this is. Some of you may have seen some of these concepts. I've shared some of these concepts selectively at some partner sessions in the last 4 to 5 months, and I'll share with you some of the feedback we got from some of those sessions as well, for the benefit of those of you who could not have the opportunity to attend them. So what exactly is the opportunity? I'm going to bring it down to 2 things. The first one is the opportunity from Zoho One itself, and that is Raju spent a lot of time discussing it. I will outline it and frame it in a few minutes. And the second thing is especially for partners who have been with us for a long time, you know that our company Zoho offers a very unique partner model, which is different from most software companies out there. For some of you who are newer to the company, I'm going to actually make that distinction so you can actually see it and appreciate and understand where we come from and how we view our partner ecosystem. So there are 2 things there. One is product and one is organization. And those together constitute the opportunity for the partners like you and others who will go out today at the back of this most innovative product offering from Zoho. So let's take the first one, the opportunities from Zoho One. I have only one slide here to communicate this whole Zoho One as an operating system for business. So the way I would like to summarize it is essentially what we do, or what Zoho One does for a company, is put the entire business on the cloud. Raju has talked about it. Here's another way to look at it. If you look at what anything a company does, it breaks down into these 3 or 4 categories. If you start at the top left, all companies, the purpose for most companies is to serve customers. So serving customers means you have to reach out to them, you have to acquire them through a selling process, and then you have to manage, maintain, and earn their loyalty. So in product terms, that translates to marketing, sales, customer support. So that's the whole category of products represented on the top left of the screen. As you know, that is exemplified by the CRM Plus bundle, which is now also part of the Zoho One universe. Moving counterclockwise on the bottom left is you have all the applications to empower employees in your company to serve those customers. So everything to do in the context of productivity and collaboration. As you all know, this is where companies like Microsoft and Google made their biggest dent. They made billions and billions of dollars just focusing only on this category, which are things like email, things like office applications, things like collaboration tools, things like personal productivity tools. Now, all of that today in Zoho is captured as part of the Zoho Workplace, and as Raju pointed out, it's a bundle on its own, and it's also part of Zoho One. So you, moving again around the circle, you have the ability to build custom applications that allow companies to compete better. So again, these applications that can be done with Creator, and what we've done with Zoho One is created the unique opportunity to make them seamlessly part of a larger suite of well-integrated and centrally managed applications. And finally, on the top right, you have the finance and the HR type of applications to manage resources. Once again, we brought them into Zoho One. So if you look at this whole single slide, you see the entire picture of what it constitutes to put an entire company on the cloud. And this has been the vision at Zoho for quite a period of time, come into place today as introduced by Raju a few minutes ago. So that's a quick summary. So let's take that and see how would you as a partner take this and have a unique opportunity to build business on top of this. So the first thing I'd like to point out too is this is a highly differentiated offer. Let's be honest. In our history with Zoho is we've come up with products where we are usually the 3rd or the 4th or sometimes even the 10th provider of that product or service. That has been true with CRM. It's been true with mail. It's been true with several of our products. With Zoho One, we've actually switched that. We've been able to come up with an offer that nobody else can match. It's highly differentiated. As Raju pointed out, there are companies that are catching up. You already see this type of pricing being accepted, per user per month. But at this point today, we've created a differentiated offer that gives us a window of opportunity that is ours to take. That window will close. It will close over time, but we will also keep advancing. But we do have this unprecedented opportunity to put something on the customer table that nobody else can match. That's unique. It's never happened before at Zoho. The second thing I want to point out is today with Zoho One, we no longer address a particular problem around sales or around marketing, around HR, around finance. We are solving a very large customer problem. So if you are in a vendor ecosystem or a partner ecosystem, this is the fundamental thing you want. You want to be able to solve a really big customer problem. That's the reason why customers come and do business with you. So that's again intrinsic to what Zoho does. Third thing is, we again, related to the previous large problem, we solve multiple business functions. This is not again a sales issue or a marketing issue, which then drives the customer back to find solutions in the other areas and integrate them and put them all together. So this goes across multiple functions and it bridges information across departments. Now this is fundamentally in tune with how organizations are evolving today. It's not just about solving the marketing problem or solving the sales problem or the support problem or the finance problem. It is about making all this information available across departments. So the support department knows what is happening on the sales side, or the finance department knows what is happening on the customer support side. You've seen a lot of these examples in various Zoholics conferences, but that is fundamentally what a Zoho One does differently from what a company can do just by buying applications and putting them together. It bridges information, allows people to make better decisions. So this is how we should be pitching Zoho One. It improves the visibility to corporate and business information for every department in the customer organization. Last thing is, Zoho One again is unique because it does not cater to a segment of the company. It caters to all employees. Think of it as like, in that sense, it is very similar to the utility analogy that Raju brought up earlier. It's like networking or like Wi-Fi. It's available to everyone in your organization. Everyone can use it. Everyone does not have to use it, but it's available. And you think of it as, hey, this is, once you get used to this, this simply has to be there, and you can't do without it. So that's the uniqueness of the product itself, and everything, of course, is on the cloud. So this, again, fits into the customer trend or the market trend of migrating applications to the cloud. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about, where partners can add value. This gets, so what we've established so far is how differentiated and unique it is and how we can position it. Now we discuss how partners can actually add value. Now this has created opportunities for multiple services. First of all, there's clearly cross-selling and upselling. And in the example, this is what a lot of our partners have been asking. You know, many partners have primarily built their business around CRM, for example, and they want to know what the next game is beyond just expanding CRM within the partner organization. So some partners have moved into customized apps, custom apps, and so on. Now, there are multiple avenues for partners to go in whichever direction they want. So some partners are good at building custom apps. They will take on and complete the transition of the customer to the cloud. Some partners want to, many partners already have indicated interest in moving towards finance apps or HR apps and start pushing that. And now this is a terrific opportunity because you already have a customer in. It's easier to sell to an existing customer than to a brand new prospect. So the upselling or the cross-selling becomes far easier. And we've already seen that, as Raju pointed out, with some of the early numbers with the limited release that we did with Zoho One. We've already seen how much of upselling has already happened. Second thing here is, this is to do with the trend of, or with the cloud trend itself. Zoho One puts the partner in a position of strength, in a position to be able to take on the role of being, I'm an advisory and a highly experienced and qualified advisor and consultant to put your company on the cloud. So it goes beyond product or product training. It puts partners, and not all partners will honestly be able to measure up to this, but several have already moved in this direction. It allows them to be seen as advisors, as trusted advisors to companies who can advise them on their cloud strategy. And they are backed by a product that can actually do it. So this is one direction that I've seen several of our senior partners already take on. I'm not saying this did not exist before, but Zoho One gives them that ammunition to be legitimate as a consulting and advisory partner to help organizations in their transformation to the cloud. So this is a big services and consulting opportunity. The third one, of course, is training and migration. You have lots of products. Customers are already using products, so they may need some migration. They may need some training, and obviously need training in new products, need training in how to even adapt processes. For example, in accounting, a lot of the training going on, training services applied today is not at the product level, but is to show customers how accounting and finance can actually be managed on the cloud, how HR and recruiting services can be managed on the cloud. So there's a training and migration opportunity built into this. Finally, of course, there's the classic one that most partners recognize, which is implementation. Integrations. Integrations will increase on a broader scale because we are solving a bigger problem. Now, of course, the product itself is integrated. Zoho One itself allows information to move across different services and applications. But as we provide custom apps and solve this problem of putting the entire company on the cloud, there are going to be third-party integrations into other applications, custom applications, specific industry-specific things like retail systems and so on that are going to create huge opportunities for partners at the service level. And finally, we talked about this in Raju's section, custom applications. As people realize, okay, this is a platform I can back, they're going to have to start to put things that serve their business. Sometimes it's vertically oriented, sometimes it's to fill the gaps between applications. And we've seen this for actually 20, 30 years. You know, this is what industries do all the time, and they have to deploy. This is a very expensive thing to do, and it's always a stepchild. It never feels as good as a native application. And this goes back to the point that was made earlier, that with the central console and Zoho One, no longer will custom applications look like a stepchild. They will be pulled into the overall application infrastructure. They'll be managed and maintained and provisioned exactly like others. That is a huge thing for customers, because a lot of times customers want tailored applications despite everything that's out in the industry, which is one of the reasons why we even have the Zoho CRM platform. But this is the ability for partners now to build applications, tightly integrate them into the Zoho One stack, and solve an even bigger problem for customers. So to summarize here, the value for customers here is multiple services, and some of the early feedback we've got from partners in the various meetings we've had, or the Zoholics even, that we've had over the last several months, have been very, very promising. In fact, I think in most of these sessions, the audience, the partners among the audience, the partners were just as eager as the customers and just as enthusiastic as the customer attendees in Zoholics in this direction that we've been taking. So I talked about opportunities from Zoho One. I'm going to cover the second topic very briefly here. This is about Zoho's partner model. Now bear with me a little bit. Many of you senior partners who've been around already know this, but for the benefit of those who are newer to the Zoho ecosystem, I want to iterate some of our underlying philosophies and some of the underlying organizational decisions we've made that you can distinguish and differentiate from other vendors and done to support our partner system. So let me start with that. Unlike most software companies, we actually depend on partners in a more intrinsic way than most software vendors. And I'll identify why the statement is true. The first thing is sales. You know, we have partners. We provide sales commissions on all products, and none of that is going to change with Zoho One. You will still get sales commissions on Zoho One. We don't set any limits. If you see how software companies have evolved, they've started changing the rules once they were in place. They would change commission structures and geographies. They would change commission structures based on size of deals. They would raise the kind of partner size, the size of partner deals before they would start to offer commissions. You've seen that across the world. And that is something Zoho will never do. We will provide sales commissions to all partners on all software sales, because that is our fundamental philosophy. We want partners to make money selling Zoho. And there's no ifs and buts. There are no limits. Even if you sell a 2-person deal, you're going to get commissions. We don't put limits on this. So that's fundamentally an unchangeable philosophy, part of how we deal with our ecosystem. Again, many of you partners know this, but I want to trade this for the benefit of those who may be newer into our system. Second, unlike most software companies, we don't actually have a professional services team. So what that means is we don't have a dedicated team. We do some of this on an ad hoc basis, often in partnership with partners, but we don't have dedicated teams at Zoho that is doing consulting or training or implementation services. In other words, we don't create any competition or conflict in the partner channel. We don't have our own team. And this is classic in enterprise software, where companies start a professional services team, and over time, the biggest deals or the sweetest deals start going into the company's internal professional services team, and the partners get basically pieces of it. You've seen this across industries. You've seen this in Salesforce and across multiple vendors. So this is something that is completely not part of our model. We will never build these teams. We will help customers in implementation, and we've done that, and we continue to do that. Like I said, oftentimes we do that along with partners. Number two, we don't charge them money for it. So we don't take out of that pool of money that is available for partners from managed services. So all this revenue goes to the partner community, because Zoho does not want any part of it. That's a decision made years and years ago, and we will continue to maintain that with Zoho One. So let me summarize here in the interest of taking some more questions. Zoho One has given Zoho, and therefore our partner community, a very rare window of opportunity. It's a highly differentiated product today. It will be for a window of time. That window will get smaller, but it will be, and we won't be standing at either. We will keep adding to it and keep improving it, making it even tighter. So it's a highly differentiated offer, and no longer do we need to feel that we're selling something that someone else has and we're going to compete on price. Of course, we're going to be very, very competitive on price, but we don't have to compete on price in the sense that we've had to do in the past, where you're the 3rd or the 10th player in the market. Second, the value. We talked about the value. The value is communicated in a number of ways. The size of the problem we solve, the scope of the problem across the company, and the price at which it is delivered. All three of them are part of the value. Each one of them is unmatched on its own. And so we can proudly go out and say, nobody does such a high quality of product capabilities at the price point that we can make. And the third part of the summary is, this actually has created even more service opportunities for the ecosystem. As I mentioned, from consulting, advisory, training, maintenance, implementation, integration, custom applications, all of this, not just on the product itself, but on cloud enablement. So this is the opportunity for partners, and I will say, just come and take it. It's available. We're not competing with you on this. Come and take this opportunity. So let me stop here and pass it back to Ian to moderate the question sections.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, Raju. So just to summarize, I just want to be cautious of the time. This webinar was scheduled for 90 minutes, and it looks like the timer is winding down because we launched it a few minutes early. So we may be cut off in the next 2 minutes. Won't have a chance to address all the questions, but we'll give it a try. I'll see if it can be extended. So bear with me. Thank you all for participating, and there are a lot of questions, as you've seen. There's a tremendous amount of information to be covered. There's lots of details in the product. We're going to go next week into a deep dive, so if you can make it, please do register for next week's deeper dive. As you see, this is a new thing for Zoho. We're still managing all the expectations and all the questions, and there will be loose ends that have to be addressed. Please be patient with us as we navigate these early days. And yes, we are very excited to be launching Zoho One. Stand by for the official launch. As Raju mentioned, it's the 24th. We're going to be doing a global launch with lots of media attention. So you will be hearing a lot about Zoho One in your local markets. So let me see if we can continue this webinar for the next few minutes. I want to go through the questions. If we are cut off, I apologize in advance. Let's see if we can extend it. Okay, it looks like we're good. It's not cutting us off. So let me just read out a few of the questions. I'll ask Raju and Vijay to unmute if they aren't already, and I'll read out some of the pertinent questions that came up from many of you. So let's start from the first question. There was some question about pricing, just clarification. Some partners are interested in, like, if their customers are in the EU, why are they getting? Why do they have to pay more money than customers in the U.S.? I think that's a fundamental question we need to address. My understanding is if you are in the UK or in Europe as a customer, that is, you would be, you'd have to be signed up on the EU server, which means you'd have to pay the EU pricing or the UK pricing. If you're a customer that signs up to Zoho.com and you can therefore choose to do that, you can pay in US pricing. Raju or Vijay, is that your understanding as well?
I think we're doing it based on the location. So it is wherever the customer is from, we are charging that, and it'll be, if it's from UK, it'll be GBP. So similarly from Europe, if they choose to have the data in the US data centers, but still they'll end up paying in euro. I think that's my understanding, but I'll double check again on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Quick response. There are two parts to this. One is the how they pay, whether they pay in euros or in dollars, and what's the pricing. So that again is linked to our infrastructure and data data centers. Second question is more an economic question from what I read from this. Why is it that it's priced in a certain way in one place and certain way in the other place? That is simply to do with the 2 points here that determine. We want to keep the pricing somewhat similar across all our regions, but we also need to know that in certain places we have to, the market pricing pressure is higher and we have to adapt to it. That's the first thing. So we want to keep it relatively even, and we're trying to do that across all of the major westernized markets. Number two, we want to keep it memorable and simple. Whether it translates to, it's no fun saying it translates to 28.37 euros. It's easier to say if it's 30 euros a month, because it's close enough and it's value enough that it doesn't really matter. Back to you, Ian.
Okay, good. So there's some question about licensing and user management, user control. I think there are some exceptions to the rule in terms of how many licenses do you need. How does Zoho know how many employees in an organization? There was some specific questions around like mail. Some people want to set up groups in mail. Does that count as a user? They use email aliases. There are some complexities based on this particular product, right? Because some of the Zoho products are user-based licenses. Some of them are based on number of projects or some, organization level licensing. How do you want to address that, Raju, in terms of licensing and being able to control how many users are getting access to Zoho One licenses?
Well, we basically say that it is for every employee in the organization based on your tax filing. And obviously, there is no easy way to check that. But again, we require that they sign an agreement during the purchase process that they will be licensing it, and we reserve the right to audit that customer about the number of employees they have. And in such case, they may have to provide us some proof on the number of employees that they have in the organization, and then make sure that they license accordingly. So that's it goes through that legal section. And the second part of the question is individual applications and treating aliases in a different way, and do a separate license for those. Actually, not really the case. So we do understand that we don't address every single scenario, and some applications are, there are some exceptions to some certain applications. In such cases, we suggest that the customers contact us, and based on that, we find a solution. We are going to run into a lot of these use cases in the short term, and the team is going to address that moving forward. So if you come across scenarios like that, we suggest that you reach out to us and say, this is a unique scenario that we faced, and we don't have a direct solution. So please recommend the right way to move forward. And we will make some considerations, and based on that, we can adjust things if needed. But we would like to know all the details and the use cases that you're facing. And we have faced several use cases in the past. Like we said, someone came in and said, we license or share our information or accounting information with our accountant. Do we buy a license for our accountant? And that's a very valid case. So we made some exception to that. So like that, if you come across some scenarios like that, please do share that, and we certainly will consider those and might make some changes.
Just
Okay.
I want to add one thing to that, Ian. This question has come up a lot, and I will make some points. First is how do we know that everybody in a company is going to use Zoho One? Well, we're not in the business of policing, so that's not what we're going to do. But as Raju said, there are ways for us to figure this thing out. The fundamental idea is we make so much economic sense that it doesn't make sense for people to cheat. In fact, if they cheat, they lose. That is the point. Okay, and that's the reason the pricing is this way. That's why we have integrated information and so on. So we actually we expect that people will simply, after all, look at it this way. It's less than the price of a coffee a day for an employee. And that's what Zoho One costs. And so we think that people will realize that the benefit of this simply makes sense. So this policing will not even be an issue because people will see this as absolutely valuable to them. That's the first part. Then the second part here is about the exceptions. The philosophy for Zoho One was this. Why did we actually create this? One price, all enterprise editions, all products, and at a very low price. So the reason we did this, to use an Americanism on you, is to not get into the business of what we call here in America nickel and diming. So the idea is software has always evolved in a way where people come in, put a price, get the market, and then start to raise prices on people or create exceptions, or say if you want this kind of feature, they create it as an add-on, as an extra, make people price for it to hide the actual pricing for the customer. So when the customer actually tries to price out what it happens in their whole organization, they realize it's a lot more than the advertised price. That is nickel and diming. And that's what software companies have been doing for a long, long time, by adding these add-ons, adding exceptions and things like that. So with Zoho One, we have created a system which makes all that transparent and trusting. People say we're just going to do the right thing, and it's at one price, it's enterprise editions, nothing is hidden here. So there is the opposite side of it. And the same way we expect that when we work with customers, they treat Zoho the same way. They're not going to claim exceptions for everything. You know, we want this or we want that. Just the same way that Zoho does not impose that kind of system of pricing you for this or pricing for that. The converse of it is we don't expect that customers will come and claim exceptions for everything. Now that said, we will make some sensible exceptions for like the one Raju pointed out. But we're not in the business of creating a number of exceptions for different customers, because that goes against the philosophy of Zoho One. Keep it simple both ways. Back to you, Ian.
Right. Thanks, Vijay. So yeah, in the interest of time, we'll take a few more questions, and also there's going to be some unanswered questions. So what I think we'll do is we'll put together an FAQ. There seems to be a lot of concern about pricing and licensing. We'll put together a specific FAQ document we'll share with you that'll address most of your questions and concerns. You know, the UK versus the US pricing, policing the licenses, upgrades, migrations into Zoho One. There are a number of things that we still are navigating ourselves. So bear with us, as I said, and we'll address all of these, including the exceptions. So let's just take a couple more. This one is more to do with the integrations at the product level. I thought it would be helpful to talk about that. Raju, in particular, some partners are concerned about, like, for example, if we say we're tightly integrated, how do we do calendars, for example? There's a people calendar, there's a Zoho CRM calendar. How are we addressing that specifically?
Well, instead of going into that specifically, let me broadly talk about the integrations. we have good number of integrations. In fact, for the last 4 or 5 years, we have been launching one integration a week on an average. And that said, there are still another few hundreds of integrations to be done, and the list keeps adding up. Every time we add a new product, the number of integrations that we have to do still goes up. So one way to look at it is, do we have better integration than alternative suites out there in the market? That's a good question to ask. And how tight and how better are our integrations compared to what's available out there in the market? Certainly, we can look at our existing integrations and say, hey, this should be better. This should work with the 4 other products. Absolutely. We also think it should work that way, but certainly there are only certain things that we can do, and we are doing these integrations as fast as possible, and that has been the focus. And there is, if you go take a specific case, for example, like a calendar, where it's there in one product, and why don't you use another? Why don't you use the same calendar in the second product too? Well, we have done that in the past, and there is a compromise between rolling the product out versus depending on other teams. If some of the other product, if a new product that comes up goes ahead and integrates and relies on a certain calendaring, certain things to be added to the calendar product, then the product itself gets delayed and the product itself doesn't come out for a year or 2. So it's a compromise between launching a product and then worrying about the integration versus building everything as a good one integrated suite. If we took that approach, the products won't come out. And that was again, it's a philosophical issue that we had to make a decision on. Yes, there is duplication in certain products like calendar, but there is also things planned so that they are going to be integrated in the long run. So you will see as calendar evolves into a platform instead of a product, then you will see certain things, the calendar functionality in various applications being replaced.